Hello, and welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is Monday, July 28th, 2025. Please remember to like and subscribe. So, items to talk about today. Israel is about to allow UN aid to the starving people in Gaza. Apparently, international pressure has reached some kind of a breaking point where Israel is now being forced to let aid in. That's a good thing. Um, Here's another item. Just speaking about government expenditures on all kinds of important things. There's an item 12.8 billion for affordable housing. That's good, right? And the 12.8, that's nice. But here's another item, 48 billion, quite a bit more than 12. 48 billion, what's that for? It's for ICE detention centers. I guess we can see where the priorities are here. Uh, let's go to another topic. I'm just a bunch of topics. So I was reading a story about a group that was challenging who is allowed to ordain marriages in a particular state, that they only allow justices of the peace, priests, religious officers, or judges. And this group, um, some secular atheist group, wants to have just plain old ordinary people be able to do this. Say the right words, get this stamp, appropriate stamp on the appropriate piece of paper, and the marriage is done. So I just wanted to talk about marriage for a little bit because I kind of wonder about the whole point of it. Marriage is an old institution, goes back a long ways, and I think in the early days it had to do with the possession of the wife. She's the property, and that really shouldn't be the case now. But what is it now? Now it's a legal obligation. It's a legal document. It says you're now obligated for this. You can't do that. So, in my reasoning, a marriage certificate should be nothing but a legal document that a lawyer certifies, and you're done. And if you want to have a wedding, fine. It's nice. Have a party. Say the I do's, and that's all there is to that. So I really don't understand this idea of marriage. Generally speaking, it's till death do us part, and yet very often it comes way before death does. And then you'll have people who get married a second time or a third time. I mean, hey, it didn't work the first time or the second time. What's the point this third time? And what about the people who live together like they're married, do everything that married people do, but they're not married? What is that? It means they don't care for each other. They're not legitimate. Um, it's just a whole crazy thing. And I was reading something in Spain where they have um, relationship uh, legalities. You don't have to be married, you can just be living together. And it comes with certain understanding, certain legal obligations, but it's not a marriage. It's sort of like less than marriage, but more than friends, friends with benefits. Interesting, this whole marriage thing. So that's that topic. Here is another topic. A traffic cop had stopped a young lady for whatever traffic violation, and took her information and let her go on her way. This guy, such a nice guy, he passed on her information, her address, the car she's driving, what she looks like, to ICE, because he had done a check on her when he got her license and registration, and found that she was on a visa that was overstayed. So such a nice guy. This girl was going to college trying to get a degree, and he decided he had to call ICE on her. The people that are just mean and evil in this world, right? Next story. Belgium. Belgium detains two Israeli soldiers. for their deeds in Gaza, which are horrific, and all of the soldiers participating in Gaza should be arrested, should be in jail. Now, of course, these soldiers were just let go after being interrogated. That's as far as these efforts go at this point. But it goes to show once again how international sentiments towards Israel are changing greatly. Um, Another indication of these attitudes towards Israel, the University of Florence. Most universities have associations and deals with other universities in other countries, and the University of Florence has decided to cut all associations with any universities, and there are several of them in Israel. More indications that the attitude towards Israel is really changing. All right, another topic, something called van life, which is living in a van. Some people do it out of fun, travel around the country, not tied to one spot. They just live in the van for fun, fun, fun. But some people live in the van because they can't afford housing. And sad state of affairs, right? They have to live in a van. Although they are fortunate, they're better off than the people who only have a tent to live in, or not even a tent, and they're just sleeping under an underpass. But what I wanted to say about it was there's a crackdown on being in a van now. Where you can park your van and take a snooze is becoming more and more restricted. The efforts to clean up the homeless that are out on the streets, pack them up, kick them out, move them somewhere else, is extending to vans now and automobiles. So many states have now made it illegal for you to sleep in your car. Imagine you have no place left to go. All you have is your car. And now they're going to harass you for sleeping in your car. Drive someplace else. Where else can you go? These laws have been made that you can't sleep in any public property. So that's pretty messed up. And this was one story I was watching. A woman came out of a Walmart, and she's a van life person. She's eating a meal, just taking a break, and gets a knock on the window. Security guard saying you have to move. What? Why? What do you mean I have to move? You've been sitting here too long. Sitting here too long. You can't sit in a van for too long. She looked at her watch when she got here. She was there about 20 minutes, and they're telling you have to move now. So now they're coming after you for just sitting, just sitting, not even sleeping. You've got to move. They're really going after homeless people or and that's homeless, a homeless person in some pretty horrible ways. Um, Colorado has made it illegal now for you to camp, whatever camping is. I guess if you're sleeping in your camper or your van, that's camping. You cannot camp on your own property. Suppose you have all this acres and you've got your van there and you're sleeping in your van. Maybe you have a family member sleeping in the van. You can, it's your property, but only for 7 days out of the year. You can't sleep anywhere. Imagine on your own property. What is this? It's just something. If you're in your house, it's okay. If you're in a vehicle, it's not okay. What's up with that? Now, I mean, even if you want to say they're trying to get these homeless off the streets, well, you're on your own property now, and you want to harass people for that crazy stuff. What else? I mentioned in another video how countries are starting to recognize Palestine. Spain, Ireland, France now said it will, and now the UK, of all people, is making gestures, making indications that it's ready to recognize Palestine. Keir Starmer, the head guy in England, not the king, the head political person, was criticizing the starvation going on. It's a little surprising in a way how it takes these pictures of starving people to evoke sympathy when just shooting them, dropping bombs on them, apparently doesn't evoke anything. Well, Thank goodness something's coming of that. All right, what else? Another topic. Let's throwing stuff away. I heard this once before, and it just popped in my head again. You know, you have your trash. What do you do with it? You throw it away. And what is throwing away? Well, it just disappears. It goes in a black hole. It's gone, right? No, it doesn't. It goes to the dump. You know, actually, nothing gets thrown away. It just gets thrown someplace else. A lot of it goes in the oceans, and the issues we're having with pollution in the oceans is unbelievable. And it's bad enough the trash. It's bad enough the plastics, but we also have chemicals. You know, when they say don't eat too much tuna because of the high mercury content, this is pretty bad. I mean, you know how big the oceans are. Three-quarters of the earth are ocean, and yet we manage to pollute it so much that we have to give warnings about eating too much tuna because of the mercury. Bad stuff. What else? I was watching a comedian, and she was being funny, but also not funny in a sense. She was talking about incels, those men that never can get a girl, don't have sex. No girls will have sex with them. You know, it's not easy to have sex. You know, and first of all, you have to have some kind of a relationship. You got to have someone who likes you, that you like them, and if you're two people with good qualities, you know you've got a shot. But the more your qualities go down, the more your chances go down of anything happening. So, at any rate, this woman was um, criticizing them about how these incels complain, and saying that they don't get the girls, and the girls are so tempting, or let's say I don't want to use the word tempting, but give me the idea, right? They dress sexy, they dress for appearance, they dress to attract, but they won't, you know, have anything to do with some guys. And it's some guys you can definitely understand it. They're just jerks. But any rate, the girl is trying to say about, listen, don't be thinking just because there's attraction there that you should be that's an invitation to you. And I'm looking at the girl while she's saying this, and she's wearing one of these sexy outfits. It's one of where you have kind of pair of sweatpants that just hang right around your hips, and the top part is like a one piece bathing suit. So you see the her thighs, you see her hips. There's that's exposed flesh, and of course you see the bathing suit cut down the front, angling down. And to me, this is one of those inviting sex kind of things. And there's all this argument about it doesn't matter what a girl wears. A guy has no right to approach or say anything or get any ideas. And of course, there's something to it, but we all have norms. Every society has norms. And if a girl walks around half naked, literally, in just a thong on the beach, you can get away with it, even though it still raises eyebrows. But you walk in the middle of the street, you'll get arrested for indecent exposure. And this is calling attention. This is asking for trouble. Even if you should say, it doesn't matter what you wear. So what if you wear nothing? And then would that be not asking for trouble? If anything happened to you, you're going to still say, well, nothing should have happened. I suppose in an absolute sense, that would be true. But let's just get real. Something's going to happen. And so I thought it was really ironic that girl was talking about women being looked at as sex objects when she's dressing like one. All right, what else? Let's go back to Trump. His administration has been breaking legislative laws, breaking all kinds of laws, left and right, and the Supreme Court is backing him up and saying, those laws you broke, we now make it legal. It's okay for you to break the laws. This is the right going haywire. They call it being fascist. Fascist is when you break all the laws, when you start becoming the absolute ruler, and Trump is more and more becoming an absolute ruler in terms of all the regulations that are a part of the government, part of what Congress can do. Trump is now saying, I can do it, and the Congress can't say a thing about it. The Congress is going along with it. It's really becoming an autocracy, is what it's moving towards. What else? Um, I saw this comment about the Supreme Court and how they uh, treat issues and how it's so blatantly partisan. There's something called a major questions doctrine that came out some time ago, in which the Supreme Court said, while there might be rules and regulations, things that can be done and can't be done, he says, if something comes up that they consider a major question, they're allowed to just say, you know what, um, let the parties have what they want, assuming the Supreme Court likes those particular parties. And on the other hand, um, they've got this thing where if someone tries to attack the president and what he's doing, they claim this a unitary executive issue where the president has all the authority in whatever he does, and you can't question him. So the Supreme Court just going. There's a word I can't think of. I'll say ballistic, but rogue. Ah, that's the word. Going rogue. All right, what else? This fellow was being nominated, and it was quite the controversy. His name is Emile Bove, and from all descriptions, he's just a horrible person. But one of the things that stood out was his directive to the people working under him in the Justice Department to tell the Supreme Court to go jump in a lake when the Supreme Court tells you you have to produce this evidence, you have to do this or that. He was telling his attorneys, when the Supreme Court tells you that, when any of the justices tell you that, just tell them to go jump in a lake. Well, he just got nominated to a federal position in the appellate court. These are the evil, depraved people being stuck in our government. No, there were times when governments were normal, where it didn't matter who was in the opposite party would be finding things, to say against them, which that's natural enough. But this is going way beyond the pale. All right, let's talk about something else, totally different now, totally different. Just something I've noticed. I'm trying to get off of political topics completely, but it's something I follow the most, and so I'm able to just vocalize about that. But I go to the gym, and when you go there, you can hang up your keys. You got a little key rack, you can hide up your keys. I've noticed a set of keys just sitting there forever. Every time I go there, if I go in the morning, if I go in the evening, these keys are there, not moved, not moved, not moved, never there. And they're house keys and they're car keys. How can anybody leave a gym, go home? I don't know even how do you get home. Your car keys are there. How do you forget your car keys, your house keys? They're there for months, and you don't know your keys are missing. You don't even think maybe I left them at the gym. Unbelievable. And in that same vein, I like Starbucks. I go to Starbucks usually every time I'm going to go to the gym. That's my, pump me up, go to the gym, drink that caffeine. Well, you can order the Starbucks online, and it'll be there waiting for you sitting on the counter. Do you know how many people order and they never pick it up? They just sit there forever. I was ordering something and I sat down at one of the tables and I'm looking at my phone and I'm just hanging out. And these drinks are sitting there and they're sitting there and they're sitting there. And I spoke to one of the people at work. So I said, does anybody come and pick these up? She says, sometimes no. Sometimes they just order them and they sit there. Oh, what a shame. Starbucks going to waste. Oh, my goodness. All right, last item. And this is interesting. Talking about Israel finally being noticed as not so great. Well, let's go to the further extreme. The Netherlands actually has decided to designate Israel as a terrorist threat. A terrorist threat. Why? Because they've been threatened by Israel. Number one, the Netherlands is the home of a city called The Hague, and The Hague is the city where the International Criminal Court is, which has put out warrants for Netanyahu's arrest. So Israel doesn't like that, and so they've threatened members of the Netherlands Parliament, and so now the Netherlands has decided to designate them as a terrorist threat. Israel, Israel, Israel. What a story is being woven with that country. Well, there they are. There's all my topics. I thought they were interesting. I hope you thought they were interesting. I keep trying to think of more interesting things. I'm getting more comfortable with doing this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you look for me um, next time you're looking for something entertaining. And with that, have a nice day.